All right, y'all. About another minute, then we'll jump in. If you haven't already, please go ahead, pull up Summit for me. All right, and find our class, Creative Writing. All right, hopefully everybody is back with us now. Good morning again. So again, pulling up Summit, and when you get to Summit, what I want you to do is let me share my screen here. Pull up our first checkpoint, okay, which is reading notes. So you should see our class, creative writing, our project, homegoing. Oh, excuse me. And then when you get to our overview, you should see you have checkpoint one assigned right here. So you want to click on that, and then you should see the checkpoint right here at the top, reading notes. Click on that, and it should bring you to a page that looks like this. Okay. So take another minute or two and see if you can pull that up. When you have this pulled up on Summit and your screen looks like mine, please let me know in the chat by giving me a thumbs up or let me know that you got it pulled up on your end. Okay. Hey, Shabria, welcome. Good morning. We are just getting started here with first period. You want to go to Summit and pull up checkpoint one, which is reading notes. So right here, and then it should look like this. Okay. Oh, excuse me again. So that's where we want to be. So again, take a minute or two, pull that up. When you have it pulled up on your end, please let me know in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Tell me you got it. So I know everybody is on the same page and ready to continue. Right. And I will put in the chat where we're going as well. All right. So let me know when you guys got that up.
Yeah, I can't find it.
All right. Let me here, let's do this. Well, you know what? Let me make sure that you are assigned here, Jair. Yeah, you are. Oh, yeah, so you should be good. So let's do this. I want to turn on my student view so you can see it like you would see it. All right, so you should be seeing my screen now, and now it should look
Yeah.
like your Summit looks. So when you get to Summit, you want to go over here to your year view. Sorry if I forgot to point that out before. Anytime you look for a class on Summit, you want to always go to the side and click on the year view right here. So this just bring up all your classes like this, and then you want to find the right one. So we want creative writing.
Homegoing.
Yep. And then you want to click on homegoing. That's the project. And then it should look like this. And then you'll see checkpoint one right here, reading notes. And then you can click on the checkpoint right
All
here.
right. Yeah, I got it.
Cool, cool. All right. Check the chat here. The rest of us, how we doing? We got it. We're finding it.
Yeah, this what I did yesterday.
Yeah, so because you were with us in first
Yeah, I
period
was at the.
yesterday by mistake,
Yeah.
there, so you might already have this started. So if that's the case, you can just keep going on it, or just sit tight, and then if you have other stuff to work on too, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
All right. The rest of us, how we doing? Salima, Shabria, Darian, we got this pulled up. We need another one more minute here. Let me know in the chat when you got it. All right, Salima, thank you. Shabria, Darian, you guys got this pulled up. We're still waiting. How we doing here? All right, if you don't have it pulled up yet, please continue to try and do so. If you're not at your laptop today, don't forget that this recording will also be up on the YouTube page, so you can find it there to get caught up later as well. You can also come to the Summit Lab this afternoon, right? But what you will see on this checkpoint is oh my gosh. I'm sorry. So many yawns today. All of the different sections of our book, our story, Homegoing, right? And then next to each one is a due date. Okay. So the first thing we can do on here, we're not going to worry about these ones up here yet, where it says date of final literary Socratic seminar, date of time analysis. We're not going to worry about those yet. All right. The first date we can fill in for the first section, which is Effia, all right, is, let me double check my calendar so I give us the right date, right, is 12/22. That is next Tuesday, the next time we have class. That's when I'd like to see this one done. So we can fill it in there at the top, and then we can also fill it in, right here too. Okay. So do that on your end if you haven't already. Fill in those two dates here. The first one in that chart, and then here, let me zoom out real quick so we can see both. First one is in the chart, and then the second one is above the first box right here. All right, so take about 30 seconds. Do that right now, please. Thank you. All right, so if you filled in that date, you got the first step done. And as you can see by the directions here, what we're doing in each of these boxes is filling in some notes from the corresponding chapter in that in our book. All right. So in the first box that says notes, here is where we want to make general notes about who is who, what happened and where, etc. And these are your reminders of what is happening in the story. It's recommended that we use bullet point format. Okay. So, for example, if I was filling in the notes section for our first chapter here for Effia, right? Maybe I could make my first bullet point to say kind of who is who. And so, easy way to make a bullet point is just hold down the shift key and then the number 8 on your keyboard if you're on your laptop, and that'll give you an asterisk. And then if you hit the space bar one time, that gives you a bullet point right there. So, a quick, easy way to do that. All right. All right. I just joined us. Ashley, good morning. Welcome. We are starting to fill out checkpoint 1 on Summit, Ashley. It's called Reading Notes. So you can find it right here uh, under our class page, Homegoing on Summit. And then just click on the checkpoint right there at the top. And that's where we are right now. Oh my goodness. Too many yawns today. I apologize. Okay. So again, first box here in this checkpoint is where we want to fill in some basic notes from the chapter. So I can, again, hold down the shift key and the number 8, make an asterisk, hit the space bar one time, and now I've made a bullet point. So maybe I want to say things like, okay, Effia is the daughter of Baba and Kobe. She was born on the night of the fire that destroyed. What does anybody? Can anybody recall that off the top of their head, real quick? What got destroyed in that fire the night that it was born? Anybody who has been with us recently and is caught up on the story? You can answer in the chat if you want, or just shout it out. Anybody who has been with us that is caught up, that remembers what got destroyed in that fire the night Effia was born? Any brave souls who can remind us of this?
Was it photos or pictures or something like that?
It was not photos or pictures. I appreciate it's a good guess, though. I appreciate it, Jair. No, so if you remember, it was the
Baby.
families. No, so it was like their crops, their yam crops.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, I was trying to remember, but I did read that. It was like the first part of the story.
Yeah, at the very beginning. So that might be one bullet point I could put in there, and then maybe I could also say that she is married off to James Collins, the British soldier. She goes to live with James in the Cape Coast Castle, right? And there's a bunch of other, at least 2 or 3 other key moments or important details from that chapter that we could include here. So that's what that'll be your job, is to fill in the rest, all right? But if you want to fill in those first 3 that I've put in there to kind of help you get started, feel free to do that now on your own reading notes, checkpoints, okay? And Ashley, Shabria, let me know if you guys still can't find this, if you're having trouble pulling it up on Summit. If there's any questions, let me know. So take a few minutes here, and if you want to get these bullet points copied down onto yours, feel free to do that now. All right, take about another 30 seconds, get those copied if you don't have them yet. Okay, if you still need some of that, I can scroll back up later. But let's move on here to the next box where it says point of view or purpose notes. Okay. So if you look back up your directions and point of view purpose notes, here is where you would analyze the specific points of view that are brought up in each chapter and how those points of view affect the story as a whole, and or analyze what you think the author's purpose was in that chapter. It is recommended that this section is written in complete sentences. Okay, so here is where we're going to address, okay, whose perspective, what point of view is this chapter told from? Now, we already know that there are 3 different types of point of view we can choose from if you were here last class. So can anyone remind us of what those are, either in the chat or over your mic? And I'll put that question in the chat as well. But what are the 3 types of point of view in, if I can type correctly today?
I could say third person and first person.
Third person, first person are 2. What's the one other one that we're missing still? Yeah, first and third. So what should go in between?
Second.
Second person, yes, definitely. Second person, definitely not as common in like literature or writing, but we do still want to remember it. Okay. And now, so yes, we have first person, second person, third person, and we have with third person we have 2 different types, right? So what would those 2 types of third person be? Does anybody remember that from last class? We got 2 different kinds of third person point of view. Talked about last time. Can anybody refresh our memory, remind us what they are? Or if you weren't here, take a guess. No thoughts, no guesses on the two different kinds of third person. Talked about this last class in our PowerPoint if you were here. What do we call somebody that's all-knowing, that knows everything that's happening? It's a word that starts with an O. That would be one of our types of third person here. Just jogging anybody's memory, anybody with a thought or a guess? Or have we all faded away now this morning? Right, so if we are stumped, remember these are, we have third person omniscient, right? And third person limited, okay? Or limited omniscient. Those are our two types of third person. If we were stumped on those, that's okay. Can anybody, hopefully this jogged your memory, can anybody tell me, do we remember what the difference is between the two? What makes it third person omniscient and what makes it third person limited? Anybody who can help me out with that this morning? Hey, Diana, good morning. So again, just trying to review here real quick. Anybody who can recall the difference between third person omniscient, third person limited? You can help us out in the chat. You can come off mute. This is something we talked about last class, so if any of you were here, hopefully you are able to recall. Any thoughts on this? Anybody who can help me out? Difference between, and I'll put it in the chat as well. If I can remember how to spell.
Hi, Mr. Boo.
Hey, good morning.
I think I'm gonna give it a shot.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so my POV on omniscient would be like the narrator would probably be trying to appeal to the characteristics of the character, but with limited, I feel like with limited, they would try to appeal to their own feelings and stuff.
You are very close, all right? Focus more on, like, you were
I can't fully elaborate. It's kind of hard to phrase in certain ways.
I know what you mean. So think about, we already know a third person point of view is there's an outside narrator telling us what's happening. In other words, you know, it's not like in the Hunger Games where Katniss is telling her own story and she's saying, like, I did this and then I did that. In third person, we have somebody else. So like in Harry Potter, where they say like Harry went to school and then Harry did this, Ron did that. It's somebody else. So we have two different types of that. One is omniscient and one is limited. So what's the difference between the two is what we're trying to figure out. Now, Di, you were kind of hitting on it when you were talking about, characters' thoughts and feelings, right? Because a narrator has to know all of that, to tell us the story. So what do we think a third person omniscient, and omniscient, remember, is another word for somebody that knows everything. So what do we think a third person omniscient narrator would know in terms of the thoughts and feelings of the characters? Do we think they would know every character's thoughts and feelings, or only a select few? If they're omniscient and they're all knowing, what do we think?
Would it be only the character narrating?
Say it one more time. It was hard to hear.
Would it only be strictly the character they're narrating?
That would be limited. So that is the difference, right? So third person omniscient would be, okay, we know every character's thoughts and feelings. We know what this character, we know what the main character is thinking, but we also know what this character is thinking and feeling. We know what this character is thinking and feeling. We know what that bird in the sky is thinking and feeling. That would be third person omniscient. Third person limited would be
Oh,
third person limited would be what you just told us, Diana, which is we only know a select few characters' thoughts and feelings. So like a lot of Harry Potter is told through third person limited because we know what Harry's thinking and feeling, right? But we might not know what the Dursleys are thinking and feeling at the moment. We might not know what Snape is thinking and feeling at the moment. We only know what Harry thinks they're thinking.
So with limited, the narrator only chooses the character, like a select character.
Yeah,
that appears,
it can be.
that appeals to their own thoughts and feelings and stuff.
It's so the thoughts and feelings of the narrator don't have to, like, of the actual narrator themselves, they don't have to correlate to the thoughts and feelings of the characters necessarily. It's more like they're choose, like a third person limited narrator would choose, these are the characters that I want to know everything about, and then I'm going to tell the story through those lenses, versus a third person omniscient narrator would just say, I know everything about every character, and so I'm going to tell the story through that lens. So it's just a wider lens of, knowing different characters' thoughts and emotions. Okay, I think you might be confusing, like, because you keep talking about appealing to people's thoughts and feelings. I think you might be confusing like narrating a story with like kind of like ethos, logos, and like how we're tailoring our story to appeal to a specific audience, which is something we're actually going to talk about a little later in the project. But for right now, in terms of like just narrating and points of view, those are the key things we want to remember. And I'll put that in the chat as well, is that third person omniscient, if I can spell it correctly this time, knows every character's thoughts and feelings. Third person limited only knows select a few characters' thoughts and feelings. Okay. So that would be our difference there. But good job figuring that out, Diana. Good work. All right. So if we look at our story specifically that we're reading, okay, we can try to determine what type of narration we have here. Let me find the example I was using. Here it is. Okay. So if we look at this example in the PDF version of our story that I have shared on my screen with everybody, and we look at this part right at the top of this page here, where it says, his name was James Collins, and he was the newly appointed governor of the Cape Coast Castle. Within a week, he had come back to the village to ask Baba for Effie's hand in marriage. Kobe's rage at the proposal filled every room with hot steam. She's all but promised to Abiku, he yelled at Baba when Baba told him that she was considering the offer. Okay?
So what type of point of view do we think we have in our story? What type of point of view, or in this chapter at least, do we have here? First person, second person, or third person? You can tell us in the chat. You can come off mute. Say it again.
Is it first person?
So remember, what types of pronouns would we be seeing if something is in first person? Because remember, first person is the actual character telling the
I
story.
think it's the actual character.
So would we be seeing pronouns like he and they, or would be seeing pronouns like I and we, and my? Because if we look further down here, we can see it says, Effie heard the white man talking to her earlier that day.
Opposing narrator's point of view.
In the narrator's point of view. So that would be which? First, second, or third? Third, yes. So now can we determine, is it third person omniscient or third person limited? So do we know every character's thoughts and feelings, or only specific characters' thoughts and feelings? What do we think?
Limited.
It might seem like limited, but again, keep in mind, not only do we know Effie's thoughts and feelings, who is our main character for this section, but we're also hearing about up here that Kobe is angry at something. We're hearing about how Abiku feels, all right? And, what he thinks and what he's doing, okay? So, again, do we think, now knowing that, we get thoughts and feelings of a couple other characters too, not just Effie, is it omniscient or limited?
They probably all mentioned, but I thought limited was like a certain amount of characters.
So there is no specific amount with limited. The difference is just that, in limited, I only know the thoughts and feelings of, these select characters. That could mean one character, it can mean five, it could be however. But in omniscient, I know the thoughts and feelings of every character. Okay. And so far in this section, that's been the case. So we've learned the thoughts and feelings of not only Effie, but of her mother, Baba, her brother, her dad. Okay. So that's how we know we have third person omniscient here.
Yeah, I understand.
So if we go back to our checkpoint, right? And now we're filling in our point of view purpose box, right? This is where we can say, and again, remember, like it said in the directions, probably best to do this one in complete sentences. So then this is where I can fill in and say, this chapter is told from Effia's perspective in third person omniscient, which I still can't spell, point of view. And then we could say the author uses this point of view in this chapter to help the story by, and then you would continue that and explain how does that point of view affect the story in this chapter? What might be the purpose of the author in using that point of view here, or that perspective? Okay, so that's where you would continue to fill that in. All right, and then our last box here, because we're not going to worry about questions and responses, because we're going to do most of those either together in class or in a Nearpod. Right. So the last box, quote. This is where we would find 1-3 quotes from the chapter that represent the most important events. I can remember how to type today. Okay. So that's what we're doing for the quotes box. So I will leave that up there for another minute or two and let you guys get that stuff copied down on your checkpoint. And if you're just joining us, like Diana, again, we are in Summit under our class Homegoing under checkpoint 1 reading notes, which you can click right here. And this is what we've filled in so far. Okay. So I'm going to actually, I'll zoom out a little bit more so that you guys can see all of the boxes at once. Okay. So ladies and gents, we got about 15 or so minutes left. For the next like 10, I'm going to let you guys work on this checkpoint. As you can see by the date that we've all filled in here, I'm going to expect to see done by the beginning of next class, which is next Tuesday, 12/22. All right. So that means you have at least, 2 or 3 more bullet points filled out up here in the top. You've completed, the sentence starter here for the point of view purpose. All right. And then you found your quotes for the last box down here. All right. So if you are all caught up on the story, you can go ahead and start working on this checkpoint. If you are still not caught up on the story, and I'm going to pause my screen share real quick and then I'll go back to it if you're still copying. Right. If you're still not caught up on the story, then in the chat, I am going to post the link to the Nearpod video, which is the audiobook recording of the first chapter, along with some questions that you will need to answer. Okay. Which is what was due for this last progress report. So if you were failing or needs improvement on that progress report, it's also what you need to do to get caught up there. So that's going to go in the chat right now. That's not what I want. Okay. And the code for the Nearpod, I will put that in the chat as well. UXEJK. Right. And then I've also put in the chat the PDF version of the story if you want to follow along that way. Okay. So, ladies and gents, this next, let's say maybe 12 minutes here, like 10, 11 minutes here, we are working on either two things. We're working on this checkpoint if we're already caught up with the story and starting to get this finished, or if we are a little bit behind and we still haven't caught up on the story, we are continuing on the Nearpod. If you've started the Nearpod, you should be able to jump to the next question that you left off at. When you click that link, it might start the video at the beginning, but your answers should still be saved if you've submitted your answers on the Nearpod already. So just let me know if you're having any trouble with that. Okay. I'm going to leave this up here for about another minute or two. Are there questions with anything on what we're doing right now? Anybody who is super lost needs me to back up a little bit about something? If so, now is the time to give me a shout. All right, awesome. Then I'm going to put myself on mute. I'll check back in about 12 minutes or so. And we'll kind of wrap up here for today. Don't forget, if you are feeling like you might need a little bit of extra help, you can always come to the Summit Lab in the afternoon. All right. All right, ladies and gents, checking back in. Hopefully, some of you are still with us. So again, for next class for Tuesday, which is going to be our last creative writing class before the break, I should see that checkpoint filled in by everyone. You can submit it on Summit. You can request feedback. Those of you who are new, if you look in the top right corner of your checkpoint, you'll see that little purple button that says request feedback. When you get that finished, you can request feedback from me, and then I will update your color accordingly, green, red, or yellow. All right. The PDF link to the story is in the chat, the Nearpod link, and the code is in the chat as well. So take a screenshot, copy it down, whatever you need to do for that. Okay. And don't forget, we have an afternoon assembly today at 11:30. Miss C should have sent you all the Zoom link. So we expect to see you there as well. Shout outs for progress reports, Visa gift cards up for grabs. So get that bread. All right. Questions about anything for me, questions on what to do, questions on what I'm looking for next class to be done.
This chapter 1?
Just chapter 1, yeah.
Good. Was that the Zoom link sent to my email?
For the assembly, you mean, Jair?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be in your Yes Philly email. If you don't see it there, then you can email Miss Christina. I'll put her email in the chat. You can email Miss Christina, and she will send you. She can send it out again.
Okay.
Okay. All right, y'all. Any other questions? And again, if you are still behind on the story part, the Nearpod link is the best way to get caught up. Or watch the YouTube videos that are on the Yes Philly YouTube of the class recordings. And I will be in the Summit Lab later today from 1 to 3 if you would like some one-on-one help as well. Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you very much. I will see you all at the assembly, and then I will see you again on Tuesday. Checkpoint 1, first chapter in checkpoint 1, Effia, should be done by then. Okay. So thank you very much. If you need anything else, shoot me an email or a message, and stay safe. Have a good weekend. All right. I'll see you all Tuesday. Thank you.